After more than 5 years in the works, President Muhammadu Buhari on Friday launched the National Crisis Management Doctrine. The president described the feat as a significant milestone in recognition of the need for collective effort towards achieving a coordinated, effective, and efficient national crisis management, especially with the gap created by the extensive deployment of security services. The National Crisis Management Doctrine is a policy framework for coordinating multi-agency response to national crisis while fostering collaboration and interoperability. Sorry about that. Developed by his office in collaboration of the British High Commission, the National Security Advisor, Major General Babangida Munguno, retired, says the doctrine provides a detailed methodology for national crisis response, outlining how the various relevant ministries, departments, and agencies should interact at the strategic, operational, and tactical levels. He adds that the NCMD can be used to manage both malicious threats and civil emergencies owing to the general principles set out within it. Those present at the event include the service chiefs and heads of the intelligence agencies in the country. Let's, at this moment, bring in our next guest, Senator Shehu Sani, human rights activist and politician, as we examine new developments in the war against terror, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, and what the terrorists are doing to keep all of us worried. Good morning, Senator Sani. Good to have you join us today.
Morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Good morning, indeed. Thank you so much. Well, let's start with what is happening in your state, Kaduna State, and the memo that the governor of the state, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, wrote to the president, basically in desperation to say that Kaduna might become the headquarters of terror for the entire Northwest. What do you make of this memo to the president, and how will you assess what is happening generally as far as insecurity is concerned in Kaduna State?
Thank you again for having me. Well, first and foremost, over the years when I was at the National Assembly, I had on countless occasions stood up on the floor of the Senate to bring to the spotlight and the conscience of the nation and the attention of the executive arm of the state to the reality of the situation in Kaduna State. I have stood up and I have raised motions and I have spoken continuously and consistently on the paralysis of security situation in Kaduna State. But at that time, each time I stood up to speak, people like the governor of the state and his likes had used the opportunity to portray me as someone who was undermining the government or exaggerating the situation or falsifying what was actually happening in Kaduna State. Many of them thought we were painting the president in bad light. They were so subsumed into President Buhari to the fact that they refused to tell him the truth about the situation for political reasons or for whatever. Now, the letter written by the governor of the state appears he is a new convertee to what we have been talking about over the years. And there is nothing special about that memo. Kaduna State has been under the siege of bandits for many years. Right now, you can appropriately say it is the hub of terrorist groups and also the hub of kidnapping as a business, as an industry in the state. The fact that he said they were establishing a parallel government is also the truth of the matter as it is on the ground. In places like Benungwari, terrorists have mapped out territory for themselves. They have appointed leaders. They collect taxes from villagers and also farmers, have to pay them money before you go to your farm and also to harvest your crops. So this is the situation as it has been for a very long time. But for the fact that they have lost control and is also an admission of failure, and I do not see anything new here, because in Kaduna State today, I can say there are only two local governments that you can sleep with your eyes closed, which is the Kaduna South and Kaduna North. And even in those local governments, the outskirts are still not safe. So the government has failed over the years, and the successes in terms of the war against terror and these kidnappers is very minimal. Look at it very well now. They attacked the Greenfield University, which is in the outskirts of Kaduna. The parents of those children have to pay ransom, over 200 million, and secure the release of their children. They attacked Federal College of Agriculture in the outskirts of Kaduna. The parents of those children have to pay ransom to secure the release of their children. They attacked the Bethel Baptist High School. There are some few students still in captivity. Parents have to gather money, sold their homes, their farms, their possessions, beg and borrow money, pay kidnappers to secure their loved ones. Now, it has reached a point where it's so useless. Each time your uncle, your mother, your father, or any of your relation is kidnapped, you simply have to seek contact with the kidnappers, pay them, and secure the release. The government is virtually absent. There has not been any serious, successful operation that led to rescue of this mass number of people. So people in Kaduna State virtually live under the siege of bandits. In southern Kaduna, it's another peculiar area where they engage in campaign of genocide. They raid villages, almost drive away everyone, burn down houses, and nothing happens. This is a state that has the largest location of military and defense apparatus in Nigeria. You can remember the Nigerian Defense Academy, the nation's premier defense institution, was attacked. Someone was killed, a soldier was kidnapped, nobody was sacked, nobody resigned. So what he has said is simply he is saying what we have been saying over the years. And he is admitting that they have failed. So to me, they have established actually a government, and they are doing everything that the government is doing, which is setting up structures, appointing leaders, collecting taxes, settling disputes, and even they have courts in their own areas. And they even divide themselves to providing security to villages in parts of the state. So it's a fact what that letter was. But he is also a contributing factor to all these things here. For the fact that over the years, they refused to tell the president the truth and fought anybody who stood up to tell the president. This is the reality of what is happening. And let us also go back. He and other governors came out with a certain strategy of appeasing, pampering, and pleasing terrorists by paying them. We have reached a point today, it has become a huge industry where hundreds of millions of naira and billions of naira is involved. How can you end banditry and terrorism in Kaduna State? Not with money. There must be a security strategy using technology to address this issue. For now, I can say it. Government is useless. Government is absent in the fight against terror, because people now prefer even to cooperate with the terrorists and the bandits so that they can live in peace, even if it involves paying them. So what is the essence of a government if you cannot protect your citizens? If citizens now have direct links with terrorists, pay them and secure your loved ones. Look at what happened in Kaduna-Abuja train. I happened to interact with some of the families before they organized protest in Kaduna. And it is very clear, government has done nothing to them. They are only selling everything they had. They sold everything they have to give it to terrorists to secure the release of their loved ones. So it's not simply about terrorists setting up parallel government in Kaduna, but it is about the government has abdicated responsibility, it has failed in all respect, and it has no legitimacy remaining in office at all levels.
I mean, Senator, first and foremost, thank you for joining us on the morning show. And I think many people would agree with what you've said, especially when you've sort of backed up what Governor El-Rufai has said. You've said that everything that he's put into his memo, especially when it comes to the setting up of a parallel government, is true, is accurate. I don't think anybody denied or had any discomfort with accepting that those comments were true. What people may have a problem with is that it doesn't sound as though the governor, Nasir El-Rufai, is proffering any type of solution to these problems. You said that some of the failure of this situation falls at his feet, being that he didn't report to the president soon enough. And now that he has done so, what do you expect is going to happen? What difference does telling the president make to actually tackling the solution on the ground? Or is this going to be a situation where everybody kind of wipes their hands of it, complains about it publicly, but understands that nothing's going to change? Do you think the people of Kaduna deserve an actual government that works? And if so, how do you think they can get it?
We also, I understand your question, but what we have to ask ourselves now is that what has he, the governor of Kaduna State, and other governors in the north, what have they done in terms of using the resources of the state and contributing to the security agencies in their own domain to curtail this problem, go combat it? I have read somewhere some few months ago where the governor of Oyo State bought over 100 vehicles and donated it to security agencies to help combat banditry and this violence going on in the state. I cannot recall anywhere where governors in the Northwest, and particularly Kaduna State, have been able to make such gesture. All what I know is that, well, that letter stated the facts, but I think he is simply trying to exonerate himself and to put it on record in the future when he speaks that he has brought the attention of the president. So writing a letter to the president and making it available to the media, I think is something else other than the issue of security. He wants to get himself out of it. But the fact is that he is a contributing factor to what has happened in Kaduna State. Because, first of all, some of his utterances has actually infuriated these terrorists for them to move to Kaduna State. If you are a governor of a state, you are not in control of the army, the police, but you have the political leverage of access to them and supporting them. There's a limit to what you can say in terms of issues like this. Secondly, I have seen that those in power today felt they have the solution to all the problems of this country. And as such, they don't need any input, advice, contribution from any quarters, and any attempt by anyone to guide them, to direct them, that this is what needs to be done, is virtually ignored. If you go through the comments of Mr. President over the years, like I was shocked that terrorists are still operating. I was surprised that bandits are still kidnapping people. When you see statements like this were informed by the kind of what he's being fed with. Everything was fine, it was rosy, and he is, for him, he gives security the money they need, the support they need, and as such they should take action. But leadership goes beyond that. You have to take charge, you have to take responsibility. If you appoint service chief in a position of authority and they have failed, you need to take an action. Don't forget, it took us months and years of pressure, of bringing the attention of the president that the service chief you have appointed have failed. Rather, he kept them, he kept extending their tenure, typical of his character. He would keep people in a position of authority and power. Even if they fail, he's either shy or he is cowardly to remove or sack them when he's supposed to. There must be accountability. There must be responsibility in leadership. You just don't allocate money to defense and security apparatus without going through to see how that money is being utilized and whether there are commensurate results with the resources that is being invested in that area. Governors of northern Nigeria should emulate the governors of the south. They must set up security outfit, like what happened in Benue State. He has the right to do it. If those apparatus of the state are not being able to address this issue, you have to complement them. Set up your own security. There should be Northwest security structure. They should set up, support the volunteers, support the hunters, support the vigilantes who are ready, and equip them to go after these bandits. As far as these bandits and terrorists are concerned, they dictate the face of security in Nigeria. You don't hear any serious attack on their camp. We don't have any serious thick forest in northwestern part of Nigeria or mountainous locations where you cannot access by Google. There's none. So what happens is that we only wait for them to attack. And when they take hostages, we make noise, and at the end, the families have to pay ransom. All you hear from government each time this thing happens is that government also has joined the NGO and other public analysts in condemning the situation. And it's been followed up by all set of meetings, emergency meetings, crucial meetings, closed-door meetings, open-door meetings, and then important meetings. And at the end of the day, the president has directed. This directed, in quote, directives by president has not been yielding anything. It's not different from a movie director who is just saying, move here, and it's all about art and art. So what do we need to do to address this problem? What we need to do is what other countries are. Nigeria is not bigger than Algeria. It's not in terms of size. We're not bigger than Sudan. Why don't we use technology to address this problem? Why don't we support the vigilantes, the volunteers, these local people, organize them to be able to go after these terrorists, to complement the effort of our security agencies? We don't do it. Go to the security facilities you have in Kaduna and other states in northern Nigeria. Many of them don't have operational vehicles. They don't have communication gadgets. They don't have serious funding for them to do what. And this is a country that has spent over 4.2 trillion naira within 7 years in the name of defense and security. Even the last chief of army staff who died in a plane crash in Kaduna, when he took over office, he said he has nothing to work with. He has no finance and no equipment. And before he came into office, the army was almost 97% funded from their budget. So where are all this funding to the military goes? There's nowhere to find. It is just recently, I read somewhere, that the Nigerian Defense Academy is introducing a course on fighting banditry, and it has to take them all these years to train soldiers to find, is it asymmetric warfare or what do they call it? So we are not serious as a country and as a people and as a government. This government is not serious about tackling this issue. It has made so much noise, it has politicized the issue in 2014, and it doesn't want the issue to be politicized now. In 2014, they even called for the upward resignation of the president because of the security situation in the country today. But now they say other people are politicizing it. Now, if you don't want the issue to be politicized, as even the governor once said, do something about it, tackle the problem, solve the problem, and let us see. But we talk too much. People virtually have lost hope in the government. What can this government have to show when every day is about funeral, about bereavement, about kidnapping? Almost every family has a story to tell about the security situation in the state. So where should we go from here? I think it has to go beyond the issue of writing a letter, because it's just grandstanding. You write a letter that terrorists have taken over and have established, but have they not been in the state since 2016, 2017? They have been there. The point is that they are just realizing now that they have allowed and pampered these terrorists for a long time to reach to the level where they are. And if we go on this phase, we will have no country. Because once the people, the citizens, start paying allegiance to terrorist group, the country is lost. And this is the phase which the symptoms of a failing state is evident in Nigeria. What are these symptoms? Non-state actors having equal firepower, the machinery of violence equal to that of the state, also mapping territories and taking charge of ungovernable space, installing administrative structures, taking taxes from people, and they are already a government. So the governor of the state is more of a mayor, because it's only if where you are controlling is where you are governing, then you can equally say that he is governing, he and other governors in North are only governing the cities. But rural areas is now taken by this way. We are fighting a serious insurgency, a serious guerrilla insurgency. And these people are amassing a lot of money. Question yourself, from the last 2 to 3 years, hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of naira, if you dissolve it into that level, was paid. And there was no attempt to trace where this money goes. Pick a typical bandit and a typical kidnapper. The clothes he is wearing is not more than 2,000 to 3,000 naira. And they are collecting this hefty sum of money. Who are the forces behind these bandits and behind these terrorists? Until we get them, this problem is not going to come to an end. It is expected that if you are a kidnapper and you have collected this huge sum of money, then there should be evidence of good living. You have shopping malls, hotels, properties, and you are living a lavish lifestyle. But look at these terrorists, look at these bandits. You don't see any trace of wealth in them, and there is nothing for you to say that this is where the money is going. So it means that the people we are seeing as bandits and terrorists are actually foot soldiers of some forces that we are yet to unravel. And until we go after this, until we are able to detect who are the forces behind all this, who supply them weapons and who collect this money. Families are taking 200-300 million naira every day to terrorism. How does the money comes out? How does it get injected into our financial system? Nobody is answering any question on that. Now, look at the situation which we find ourselves with the bandits that kidnapped the Kaduna Abuja train. First of all, government said they have given them everything they need, and they played them. And they will tell you that they know where they are listening to their conversation. Okay, if the families were able to recover their members from these terrorists, then why don't you go after the terrorists then? Nothing is happening. The government has failed. And no letter, no complaint, no attempt to escape the clarity, the seeming failure of this government will exonerate any one of them.
All right, Senator Sani, I mean, that's quite very elaborate and clear. But then you once ran to be governor of Kaduna State. My interest is, how will you have handled this situation differently as a sitting governor if you were to be governor of Kaduna State? My understanding of what Governor El-Rufai is saying is that his position has not changed as to the need to use military force, including technology, to deal with the terrorists. And he's saying that as a state where he's not even the chief security officer, that he is limited in what he can do. And therefore he has reached out to the federal government seeking assistance. So I'm asking you, if you were to be the governor, what would you have done differently? How would you have related with the presidency, which appears to have his own way of dealing with this issue? And secondly, if you can take the two questions together, what do you make of what Garba Shehu, one of the spokesmen for the president, saying about the fact that yes, federal government has tried in negotiating with the bandit, but it's apparent that they have been outsmarted, as far as the Kaduna Abuja train victims are concerned. He said that they acceded to at least 2 or 3 of the key demands of the terrorist in releasing his wife, in releasing 11 people from Adamawa, and giving them money. But then the terrorists reneged. What do you make of that? Is that an admission of failure? And what would be your specific recommendations as to get out of this quagmire, frankly speaking?
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, it is important that we should accept the fact that negotiation has failed. Attempt to appease the terrorists and please them has also failed. Because for people who have turned kidnapping into an industry, there is nothing you can do sitting down with them to dialogue, except if you have decided to be using state resources and if you're giving them the equal amount of money they could have been getting if they are kidnapping people. So I share that position that negotiation and dialogue at this point is virtually not what we need. What will I have done if I'm the governor of Kaduna State? First of all, I will organize, every local government will organize a security structure, a people's defense security structure, where I will support them with the necessary weapons. Let the people in a revolutionary style reach out to these terrorists, fight them themselves. There is nothing like saying that if you arm the people, you're going to make the situation worse. Well, people are already now organizing themselves to protect their villages. There is one village in Kaduna State called Udawa, and I have been in contact with people who are in that place now. They have organized themselves into a defense groups whereby they provide security in the night and in the daytime and gather some resources and support those volunteers. So first of all, I will set up an independent security structure that will compose vigilantes, volunteers in every local government and give them the necessary support they need for them to go on the offensive. One. Secondly, I will sit down with the security agencies in the state and ask them of what they need, even if it requires sacrificing other aspects of our budget in the state to support them with the vehicles, equipment, and all they need to be able to take on this fight. Well, you say security agencies are federal structures, but they live within our state, and they are serving us. And there's no reason why we can't use a substantial amount of money in providing the equipments and supporting them with the weapons and everything they need. After all, if you don't have security, it is useless to construct roads, it's useless to construct bridges, it's useless to construct rails. We have spent billions of naira, hundreds of millions of dollars to construct Kaduna-Abuja rail. But because there is no security today, it cannot be used. Even that of Lagos-Ibadan, I've heard they have cut down the services, all for security. Security is the most important thing a government should provide. If it can't provide that, nothing of other infrastructures and deliverance of the goods of democracy will be of use to anyone. That's a fact. The third thing I will have to do is support the security agencies to acquire the necessary technology. Technology for fighting terror is not more than the drones that are needed. And these are all it's available in China, it's available in Russia, in Iran, in Turkey. These are things, if you have money as a government, you pay, you can detect them. Let us go on the offensive. Technology, support, setting up security structure, support for our security agencies, these are key issues that we need to do. If we do that, there will be a serious, drastic reduction in what is happening. let the terrorists know that there is consequences for what they are doing. That is it. As for the statement of Garba Shehu, I think it is also indicative that the government is bankrupt of ideas on how to solve this problem. First of all, they have sat down with the terrorists, acceded to them, and at the end of the day, it has not produced any result. The terrorists got money, and they also got the release of their loved ones. They got money from government, they got their loved one released, and they are also extorting hundreds of millions of naira from families of these victims. So this is an indication that it is enough. There should be no terrorist demand that should be met at all from today. Let us know that we are in a war, and this war should be fought to the last. You need to ask yourself, why is it that Benin Republic, that is just our neighbor, is not facing this problem we are facing? Why is it that Niger, though there are attacks in between by ISWAP from borders of Burkina Faso and Niger, but why is it that terrorists and bandits don't operate in Niger like the way they operate in Nigeria? Why is it that they don't operate in Chad like the way they operate in Nigeria? Why is it that they don't operate in Cameroon like the way they operate in Nigeria? It is simply because the government and security structures and apparatus have simply failed in Nigeria. Those ones are very active. But let us come down here. Northwest is now under siege by bandits. But why is Kano and Jigawa an oasis of peace? It's not about praising the governors of those states or giving credit to them. But what I have seen from the questions I asked, from the study that I made over time, why a whole Kano and Jigawa in northwestern part of Nigeria are not facing the problem Katsina, Niger, Kaduna, Zamfara, Sokoto, and Kebbi are facing. Because the security agencies there are getting the support they need from the governments of those states. And they are very proactive in terms of immediately responding to any threat or attack. So when you have a proactive security agency that is always getting all it needs from the governors of the state, these issues cannot be at this level. Katsina State, almost half of the state is under the control of bandits. Zamfara State is virtually the headquarters. When they kidnap people in Kaduna, if you can't settle your ransom, they sell you off to another terrorist group. I've even listened to a situation where someone was telling me that in one of the villages in Birnangwari called Damari, I asked what was actually happening there. They said the Ansaru, a terrorist group, was providing security for the village against bandits. But the moment they moved away, now bandits moved to the village. So you can see we have reached a point where even terrorist groups are providing security against each other. We have ISWAP in Kaduna, we have Boko Haram in Kaduna, we have Ansaru, we have Darussalam, we have bandits, all of them in Kaduna State. So help us to address this problem, because it's the only state we know. And if Kaduna, Zamfara, Niger, and Katsina are not safe, there will be no parts of Nigeria that will be safe. So let's do what we need to do. Use the resources of your state to support the security agencies of your state. Don't say you are not chief executive. When you contested to be governor of a state, you contested to be chief executive of a state.
Understood.
And
Senator,
you can't say you are not in control of security agencies of the state.
It pains me to have to interrupt you here, but we have run out of time. We do want to thank you very much for joining us on the morning show today, and thank you for your responses.